There is a real sense right now that something unusual is beginning to unfold around Rangers, and it is not only about what is happening on the pitch in Scotland, but also events far beyond Ibrox that could end up shaping the club's entire European future. Over the past few weeks, most supporters have understandably been focused on the domestic title race, watching every result, every point, and every slip from rivals. But behind the scenes, in the complicated world of European qualification and coefficients, a situation has developed that could hand Rangers an opportunity that very few people were even talking about earlier in the season. It is the kind of scenario that only appears when several different competitions, results, and rankings all begin to align in a very specific way, and suddenly a path opens that did not seem possible before. Now, with the season moving towards its decisive stage, that possibility is starting to look more and more realistic, and it could be worth an enormous amount both financially and in terms of the club's long-term development. The situation revolves around European rankings and league titles, and while it might sound complicated at first, the outcome is actually very simple and very exciting from a Rangers perspective. If certain results go the right way in different countries, Rangers could find themselves qualifying directly for the Champions League group stage without having to go through the usual qualifying rounds that are always risky and physically demanding at the start of the season. Those early qualifiers can define a season before it has even properly started, so avoiding them would be massive. Not only would it give the squad more time to prepare, but it would also guarantee the club a huge financial boost that could change transfer plans, contract situations, and the overall strength of the squad going forward. We are talking about the kind of money that can reshape a club's short-term future, and that is why this situation is being watched so closely. What makes this story even more interesting is that the opportunity has not come from Scotland, but from results in another European league where the title race has suddenly become very unpredictable. A team that looked almost certain to finish top has started dropping points at the worst possible time, and that has completely changed the European qualification picture. A few weeks ago, Rangers were not in the strongest position when it came to the coefficient rankings compared to some other league leaders across Europe. But football changes quickly, and one unexpected defeat, one shift in momentum, and suddenly the entire scenario looks different. Now, instead of needing several unlikely outcomes, Rangers may only need a few key results to go their way while they focus on doing their own job domestically. Of course, none of this will matter if Rangers do not take care of business in their own league. That is the most important part of the equation and the part that the players and coaching staff can actually control. The title race in Scotland is incredibly tight, and every match now feels like a cup final. Dropped points at this stage of the season can be disastrous, while a strong run of victories can completely change the table in a matter of weeks. The pressure is going to be intense, but this is exactly the kind of situation that big clubs are expected to handle. Winning the league has always been the primary objective, but now there is an even bigger incentive because the reward might not just be a trophy, but direct access to the biggest competition in club football. You can already feel that the stakes are getting higher with every passing match. Players know what is on the line, supporters know what is on the line, and the financial difference between Champions League football and anything else is enormous. It affects transfers, wages, contracts, and even the club's reputation when trying to attract new players. Footballers want to play at the highest level, and automatic qualification can make Rangers a much more attractive destination in the transfer market. That is why this situation is not just about one season. It could influence the next several years if everything falls into place. Opportunities like this do not appear often, and when they do, clubs have to be ready to take advantage of them. At the same time, there is another story developing within the squad that could become very important when the transfer window opens. One of the younger attacking players has started attracting attention from clubs outside Scotland, and that always creates an interesting situation for a club that is trying to compete and build for the future at the same time. When a young player shows potential, performs in big matches, and still has room to improve, other clubs start watching very closely. Rangers have seen this happen many times before, where a player develops quickly and suddenly there are offers on the table that force the club to make a difficult decision between keeping the player for sporting reasons or selling for financial reasons. It is never an easy decision, especially when the player is still developing and could become even more valuable in the future. The player's season so far has been a mixture of adaptation, learning, and moments that show real quality. Moving to a new league, especially one that is physical and intense, is never easy for a young forward. It takes time to understand the pace of the game, the movement of teammates, and the expectations from supporters. Some players adapt immediately, others need a full season before they really start to show their best form. What matters most is whether the player continues improving, continues working, and continues contributing in important moments. When a young striker scores in big matches or performs well under pressure, people start to notice, and that attention can grow very quickly if the performances continue improving over time. Now the club could soon face a situation where interest becomes concrete offers, and that is when the real decisions are made. Selling a young player for a large profit can help strengthen multiple areas of the squad, but keeping a talented player who might explode in performance the following season could be even more valuable from a sporting perspective. Clubs are always trying to balance these two things: financial stability and sporting ambition, and sometimes the hardest decisions come when both options seem attractive. What is certain is that the coming months could be very important not only for Rangers' title hopes and European dreams, but also for the future of some key players within the squad, and everything that happens between now and the end of the season could shape what the team looks like next year. As the season moves closer to its decisive weeks, the pressure around Rangers is only going to intensify, and this is where squads are truly tested, not just in terms of quality, but mentality, depth, and the ability to handle expectation. Every training session, every tactical adjustment, and every selection decision becomes more important because the margin for error is now incredibly small. When you are chasing a league title while also knowing that automatic Champions League qualification could be tied to that success, the stakes rise to another level entirely. Players are no longer just playing for points. They are playing for the future direction of the club, for financial growth, for European nights at Ibrox, and for the chance to compete against the biggest clubs in the world on the biggest stage in club football. You can already see signs that the squad understands the moment. Performances have started to carry more urgency, more intensity, and there is a feeling that the team knows something special could still happen before the season ends. Title races are often decided not by the best football, but by consistency, mentality, and the ability to win difficult matches when legs are tired and pressure is high. Rangers will need players to step up in these moments. Not just the usual names, but squad players, defenders scoring from set pieces, midfielders controlling games, and forwards taking chances when they come. Championships are won by squads, not just starting 11s, and this is the period where depth becomes incredibly important. At the same time, planning for the next season never really stops behind the scenes. Even while the current campaign is still being decided, decisions are already being discussed regarding transfers, contracts, and which areas of the team need strengthening. European football, especially the Champions League, changes everything about recruitment. The level of player you can attract improves, the budget increases, and the expectations rise. That is why qualification is so important, because it creates a completely different environment for building the squad. Instead of looking only for potential and development players, the club can target more established names who want to play at the highest level immediately. This is also why situations involving young players attracting interest become so important at this stage of the year. If a club receives a large offer for a developing player, that money can sometimes be reinvested into 2 or 3 experienced players who immediately strengthen the team. On the other hand, if that young player is close to a breakthrough season, selling too early can look like a mistake later. Rangers have to think not only about the next transfer window, but about where they want the squad to be in 2 or 3 years. Do they build around young talent and develop players? Or do they try to keep their best prospects longer and build a stronger team capable of consistent European football? These are strategic decisions that shape the club's direction over time. Another important factor is how players perform in big matches during the final part of the season. These are the matches that define reputations. A player who scores important goals in title-deciding games or performs well in high-pressure situations suddenly becomes far more valuable, both to the team and in the transfer market. Scouts and clubs pay close attention to players who perform when the pressure is highest, because that is the level they expect in European competitions. So for several players in the Rangers squad, these final matches are not only about winning a title, but also about proving they can perform at a higher level and becoming key players for the future. Supporters also play a massive role during this period. Ibrox on big nights can completely change the energy of a match, and players often talk about how the atmosphere pushes them to run more, press harder, and keep fighting even when matches are difficult. When a title race is tight, home advantage can become one of the biggest factors in deciding who finishes on top. The connection between the team and the supporters becomes even more important because every tackle, every sprint, and every goal feels like it carries extra weight. Football at this stage of the season becomes emotional as much as tactical. What makes this entire situation so fascinating is that Rangers are not only fighting one battle, they are fighting several at the same time. They are fighting for the league title, watching European results and league tables in other countries, managing transfer interest in their players, and planning for a future that could look very different depending on how the next few weeks unfold. One moment can change everything in football. One goal, one result, one unexpected defeat from a rival, and suddenly the entire picture changes. That is why everyone around the club knows that focus is absolutely essential now, because opportunities like this do not come every season, and when they do, they have to be taken. If Rangers can maintain consistency, handle the pressure, and take advantage of the opportunity that has opened up, this season could still become one that supporters talk about for many years. Not just because of a title, but because of what that title could lead to financially, competitively, and in terms of the club's reputation across Europe. The next few matches will carry enormous importance, and every point from now until the end of the season could end up being the difference between a good season and a season that completely changes the direction of the club moving forward. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Rumors have begun circulating within the club and beyond, the kind of quiet conversation that always intensifies with each passing hour. There are rumors that AASGAARD, a big name wherever football is played, is facing a much more serious setback than initially imagined. Sources close to the situation suggest a concussion, not the routine kind that resolves in a few weeks, but something deeper, something that has left Rangers in an uncomfortable silence. People within the organization aren't saying much openly, but there's a tension in the air, as if everyone knows there's truth to the murmurs. It's suggested that AASGAARD may not return to the pitch until 2027, a time frame that has left fans perplexed and rivals silently stunned. For a player of his caliber, being sidelined for so long wouldn't just be a blow, it would be a seismic shift in the balance of the squad. It's possible to imagine the conversations taking place behind closed doors. Medical teams are analyzing reports, the board is weighing the future, and teammates are trying to stay focused while one of their biggest stars remains in the shadows. There is no official confirmation, of course, but the lack of denial only fuels speculation further. Around the stands and on the streets, the conversation is the same. What does this mean for Rangers? AASGAARD has been more than just a player. He has been a spark, a presence that elevates the entire team. Losing that, even temporarily, changes everything. Still, in sports as in life, rumors can twist and turn. Until something concrete is established, all that remains is the uncomfortable feeling that something significant is happening. And if these rumors prove true, football could be without one of its best players for much longer than anyone ever imagined. Greetings, fans. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as this is greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your opinion on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.